Okay, today we're talking about air compressor condensate harvesting. So here's a generic air compressor setup. You got your air compressor, your condensate auto drain valve is connected to an oil water separator where the oil is trapped inside the separator, and then the condensate water goes down usually to the sewer drain, floor drain, depending on your local authority having jurisdiction. And to clarify, an air compressor rated at 100 CFM, operating an 80-degree Fahrenheit ambient air temp with 70-degree relative humidity in the surrounding air, can generate up to 20 gallons of condensate per day. Now, if you live in a more dry, arid climate, or you don't run your air compressor as often, you're not going to generate as much condensate. Whereas conversely, if you have a very large air compressor that runs at, say, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, or 24/7, you're obviously going to generate a lot of condensate. You're paying for that electricity to run that air compressor and then just dumping the condensate water down the drain. So from a legal standpoint, what does the EPA say? So some key EPA regulations, you can Google this yourself, and there's links on Google to read in depth. But basically, they set a limit of 40 ppm of oil in your condensate water. You have to be at or below that threshold before it's allowed to be discharged. And it's illegal to dump untreated condensate down the sewer. So I want to make that clear. And again, your local authority having jurisdiction may have stricter rules. You always want to check with your local authority having jurisdiction regarding air compressor condensate disposal. So how do you do this? How do you harvest condensate water? Well, you want to take a sample of the condensate water before you install a filtration system after the oil water separator. That way you have a baseline, you know where you're starting from. You send that sample out to an independent third-party laboratory to test your water sample. They'll send you results back, and you want them to test for things like total suspended solids, pH, alkalinity, hydrocarbons, heavy metals, and bacteria, biological contamination. And again, that way that gives you a baseline so you know what exactly you're trying to filter out of your condensate water, so you can buy the appropriate filter and sterilizer to filter those items out of your condensate water. Then send another water sample out to an independent lab to have the water tested after your filtration system. And then compare your test results with the before and after. That way you can see that you've proven you can filter out contaminants from your condensate water and make it safe for reuse for non-potable use. It's a good idea to put that documentation in a 3-ring binder and create an operation and maintenance owner's manual with a plumbing plan for your condensate filtration system. And you would take that 3-ring binder to your local authority having jurisdiction, say, hey, look, we'd like to reuse our condensate water for non-potable use. Here's the filtration system we have, the owner's manual for the pump, the filter, the UV sterilizer, the oil water separator. Here's a maintenance interval for the filter. Here's our water test results to prove that the water is safe for non-potable use. And you're more likely to get approved that way. And just to clarify, here's a real-world example of some condensate water from an air compressor. This is after the oil water separator. It looks like to me it has still some emulsified oil in it, but it kind of looks like lemonade. So obviously this you don't want to wash your floor with. That's why a filtration system and UV sterilizer is required, because you want to have that water nice and clean for reuse, again, for non-potable use. And if you look here, you got your air compressor. The condensate drain line goes to your oil water separator, and then the condensate water leaves the separator, goes into this processing tank where it is continually exposed to a UVC sterilizer to kill any bacteria or pathogens that might be in the water. And if you generate too much condensate water for your tank, it would simply go out the overflow pipe down the floor drain as it normally would if you didn't have the filter system. And to determine what size tank you need, you can take the discharge line from the oil water separator, put it into an empty 5-gallon bucket, and see how long it takes to fill up that 5-gallon bucket and determine, how many gallons of condensate you're making per day. You can see the filter here. So when this pump turns on, it's going to pump that water through this inline filter to make sure it's nice and clean, ready for reuse. You can see there's a bladder tank here and a pressure switch that controls the on and off functionality of the supply pump. And you would use this filtered sanitized water to refill your scrubber carts for cleaning operations or to refill your mop buckets. You can use the reclaimed water for topping off the water level in your parts washers in your facility, or for vehicle or equipment washing in your closed loop wash rack system. And depending on your local authority having jurisdiction, they may allow you to use it for landscape irrigation. Again, check with your local authority having jurisdiction on this. And you can also use it to top off the water level in your water cooling tower as a possible use for that treated water. I hope you found this information helpful. Let me know in the comments what you think about this idea. And lastly, I want to tell you about a practical facilities maintenance handbook available now on Amazon in ebook and paperback format. It has common facilities documents, signage, and tags, as well as reference and training material and shop equipment drawings that you can use to fabricate shop equipment for your facility. The link for this book is in the video description below. If you need shirts, hats, mugs, or weather-resistant stickers or decals for your facility, there is a link in the video description below where you can check out these products on this online store. I hope you find this helpful. Please like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment, and thanks for watching.